Okay, so what are some of the things that you feel like you do well?
Trades.
Okay.
I think I do trades pretty well. Um, Freezing waves, I'm decent at. That's what. Yeah, I'm pretty decent at freezing waves. I mean, this one you'll see like me trying to like punish the Gnar for like using his E,
Sure.
because later on like I'll try to like force his E out and then just go for it
Okay.
because he doesn't really have any way to get out.
Yeah.
Um, mm,
Okay. So that's
Decent at warding. I don't know.
okay.
Never really thought about it to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that's I just kind of like to get you thinking about, so we can just talk about. So yeah, because it's useful to get a feel for where you think you're at, and then we can talk about, just even just in terms of just self coaching and self assessment. That's kind of an important thing, and then then we can talk about what that looks like. And so then I guess on the other side of that coin, what do you feel like there are specific areas that you are weak at?
Yeah, map awareness
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Using teleport to like gank at all lanes, like like I don't really do that at all,
Okay.
which is really bad because like usually if I get a lead, I feel like I'm almost entitled to like help out my team. So like I might try and go gank mid
Sure.
or something occasionally, but teleport bot, which I should be doing more, like I don't do.
Okay. Okay. So we'll be looking out for that then. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and also like overestimating or underestimating like damage or
Sure.
like certain
Sure. Yeah,
abilities.
that's pretty common too. I see that quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, we'll keep an eye on that stuff here then. Maple. Sorry, I'm just pulling something up on my other screen here. Just a sec.
It's all good.
Okay. Ah, pool party. Hooray.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean, and we'll see how this matchup goes. So you said, obviously you said you won pretty hard. So, I mean, Gnar in general is pretty easy to beat up by anyone with a reliable gap closer like Irelia has while he's in mini form. And then as soon as he goes to Mega, he becomes much more difficult to deal with unless you're ahead. So I like a couple of things already. You are you're staying out of the mix when you don't need to be, and you're picking good moments to go in and farm. When he's busy doing other things, when he's busy CSing himself, and you're using the brush to stay out of attention. The other thing that's good about staying on the top side of the map like this and just establishing a dominant position on the top side, especially versus somebody who's ranged, right? Because he has more of ability to auto attack you to death. Is when you're in the brush, he obviously can't auto attack you unless he blows his ward. But then also it can tend to pressure him, especially if he feels like you are a damage threat at all. Okay, good. It can tend to pressure him down to this side of the map, down to the river side, which so if you can establish kind of, this side or in this bush or whatever, that will, as soon as he feels like, right now maybe not, maybe he feels like he has the advantage because he's got range and such, but as soon as you establish kind of an aggressive position, that'll tend to kind of force him to stay away from the brush because he doesn't want you to jump out at him, and so then he'll kind of tend to position down in this area, and that does two things for you. That puts him in a position that's much easier to gank, which is obviously positive, but it also puts him in a position where he knows he's easier to gank, and so it's kind of a psychological thing too, where now he's having to pay attention. Not only that, he's got that in the back of his mind that he's down closer to the river, and anytime you can kind of add a mental, add a few pounds to his mental load, that's a positive thing, because you want to minimize the things that you have to be thinking about at the same time, and trying to maximize the things that he has to be thinking about at the same time. So that's why it's good to always look to to trade and CS on your own when he's busy CSing.
Mm.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
that was risky. Anytime,
yeah.
this is a rule of thumb. Mega Gnar loves it when you go in on him. He has so many ways to deal with you. Unless you are already like an item ahead or something, it's always going to be better to just leave him alone when he's in mega form. Even if, whatever it is you're thinking, just don't do it. if he really messes up or overextends under the turret or something, then obviously absolutely blow him up then. But you don't need to trade with him to win this lane when he's in Mega Form. He has a much harder time farming when he's in Mega Form, and so you can just beat up on him that way horrifically by increasing your CS lead. And so by going in and going aggressive on him, you're actually kind of playing his game at that point. That's exactly what he's hoping you'll do. Okay, so but yeah, and then vice versa. Obviously, while he's in mini form, that's your time to shine. He needs to keep respect you, because he doesn't. He has some tools to get away from you, but not before you do a fair amount of damage to him. Especially as you're able to pick up some items. Okay, so you're going for Phage first. That's what I would do as well.
Yeah, in general, my coach told me to, like, if I have, like, even 1,200, then, like, I should go for Sheen, but, like, in general, yeah, I have the gold and go for Phage.
Yeah, if you can, if you can just one-shot buy Sheen, it's obviously always going to be better to buy a full item, or, you know, a complete item with a passive and stuff. But yeah, in general, Phage is going to be the more productive first buy. Nicely done. Nice Murder Splash. So are you in the habit of timing that stuff when it goes down?
No, I mean, I'll tell the jungler, like, Gnar no flash, but, like, I really should be adding 5 on to whatever time it is now.
Yeah,
so.
Well, and what you can even just do, is, I mean, assuming you have chat, you know, timestamps on in your chat, is you can just time Gnar flash, just type Gnar flash or top flash, or you can, if you have like a keyboard with macros or something, you can like just bind that kind of thing to a macro, and so you just have to hit a key and it'll, you know, it'll type top flash in for you, whatever's easiest. But yeah, then because that's pretty critical. Between teleport and flash, those are two pretty critical cooldowns to be timing. Because that can mean the difference between blowing all of your abilities and getting a kill, or blowing all of your abilities and being a waste, you know, and then he's stronger the next time you try to go. And teleport especially too, as you're looking to play the map and impact things on a bigger scale. You gotta know, or you know, knowledge of whether you have a TP advantage. That can end up being a pretty big deal for doing Dragon and for forcing plays around the map. Okay. So yeah, so I mean, at this point, I mean, you're looking at the CS, you're looking at your lane position and how things are going, and you have, you know, unless something really strange happens, you have already won the lane. Because you have a gigantic CS lead on him. You're 12 CS ahead, even though because of that early trade where you had to go back, you know, he had a chance to really maximize there. What was he even thinking was going to happen there?
Yeah, I think I was trying to get to Mega first, like before I...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, alright, fair enough. It's Christmas, I guess. Anyway, you know, you're looking at that, and unless he does something like that, you do not need to really force your advantage yet. You don't have such a big item advantage or anything like that you're going to be able to jump on him and just kill him at will. And so, and you're not doing this wrong. I'm just kind of talking strategy as you're kind of thinking through the lane right now. You are already just absolutely blowing him out of the water in CS. And so right now, for this kind of phase, before you've gotten, you know, Triforce or Sheen and Phage or whatever, can kind of hit that spike where you start to be able to just really blow people up. What happens a lot of times is, I see a lot, is people not doing a good job of protecting their advantage. And so you'll feel like you're ahead and you'll feel like you're doing well and you're beating up on this Gnar, and so you'll feel like, you know, he ought to just get down on his knees before you when you walk into lane, and so you try to force that and, you know, and kind of prove your dominance or whatever before you actually have the items to really do that. And so people will turret dive, or they'll overextend, or they'll forget to ward, or they'll, you know, all this kind of stuff, and end up handing the lane back. I was just coaching somebody the other day that kind of happened. They had already won the lane in CS and everything, but they tried to force a couple of plays and overextended a couple of times and got a little greedy and let the guy back in the game for free and ended up losing. So that's kind of your thought process right now, is you have won already, and he, to get back into this lane, Gnar has to either get some serious jungler help, or you have to make a mistake. And so you need to just minimize the possibility of yourself making a mistake. And that, you know, that margin of error gets smaller and smaller as your lead grows. So you don't have to be as cautious as you get bigger and bigger. But you never want to assume that you're going to win a trade just because the lane has been going well, I guess. Okay. So, yeah, so you're just absolutely destroying him right now. So right about now, this is when you can start thinking about impacting the map. So your teleport is up. You've got, you know, you're approaching an item threshold. You're going to hit phage here before too much longer. And you've already destroyed Gnar. Like, you could leave Gnar alone in this lane for like 3 or 4 waves, and he still would not have caught up. And so you can think of it that way, that as a window of opportunity for you to go win another lane, because spending all your time up in top, you've kind of already won top, and you already have a sizable advantage here. And so it's not, you haven't hit the point of diminishing returns yet, but you will before too much longer, where it's like, yeah, you could stay up here and keep destroying Gnar. But Gnar is kind of already destroyed, and so is that really, you know, is that really the best use of your time in terms of winning the game? You know, is stomping Gnar even further into the ground? Is that as effective as going mid and, you know, and beginning to the process of crushing Lux? You know, and so, you know, you're not. It's not like you have to be doing that right now. But that's kind of what you want to begin thinking whenever you have a sizable advantage early on like this. If you always want to be trying to transition your lane victory into a map victory, because you can win your lanes 24/7. But if that doesn't translate into, you know, into victories, obviously, then it doesn't mean very much. Okay. So it's at just shy of 11 minutes, and you're just hitting 70 CS. So that's not bad by any stretch. It could be a little bit better. It'd be nice if you were hitting this mark about a minute ago. That would be more, you know, and just kind of that kind of poor early trade is probably what led to most of that. If you had, you know, if you hadn't been forced out of lane early on, you'd probably be much closer to that mark. But 70 at 10 is pretty good. If you can get above 70 at 10, then that's really good, especially in a melee versus ranged matchup.
Yeah, so you're I try to like freeze the lane, so I just tank the casters to keep it there.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. When you're freezing, I mean, I'll observe how you do this here. You want to try to keep about a 3 minion advantage in their wave. So yeah, you want to be a little careful, because if you let it build up too much, then it becomes, you know, it'll shove all on its own. So you want to kind of continually be trimming the fat a little bit, and to keep it at a 2 or 3 minion advantage, if it's right about here. Which again, it can be hard to do versus a ranged champion, because he has more ability to break your freeze than another melee would. Okay, but honestly, I mean, overall, that's just kind of minutia. This is what you're doing here is really good. This is exactly what you want to be doing, is just making it really hard for him to farm. And now he's going Mega, and it's got to even harder. So right now you have 1,500 gold. So right now you want to be looking for an opportunity to recall, so that you can begin to truly throw your weight around. Because yeah, you could stick around in a lane and continue this freeze, or you could either set the freeze up so that you can teleport back and it's still frozen. Nice, forces flash, that's good. Or you can, you know, begin to shove it and then look to recall and start impacting the map. So, because in situations like this, you can see these situations start to brew if you kind of keep half an eye on the minimap, and especially as you're approaching that 10-minute mark, you know, so about 3 minutes ago, that's when you want to keep at least one eye on the minimap so that you can be aware of these situations developing. First Dragon tends to go down at around 11 to 12 minutes or so this is a little bit late than what is typical. But if you had been able to teleport even into that situation right there, where it was a kind of a 2v3, you're ahead enough right now that you could probably have swung that the other way, especially if you had found a window to go back to base and buy phage and boots. you would have been able to come into that and probably single-handedly turn them around, and this would be your free dragon instead of their free dragon.
Mm.
Okay, yep, Boots and Ninja Tabby, that's good. I might have actually gone Merc Treads this game, though.
How come?
Just
because
because,
Lux is really strong.
well, you've got, yeah, Lux is the one that's doing the best on their team. You've got Lux who does AP, Elise who does AP or magic damage. She might end up going, no, she's actually going AP, so she's going to do magic damage. And plus, you've got a lot of CC on their team. Gnar CC, Lux CC, Elise CC, Thresh CC. So it's a lot of crowd control, plus enough magic damage. Honestly, it's the crowd control that's the bigger deal for buying Merc Treads. Ninja Tabby is super effective, obviously, versus auto attacks, but that's not really mostly what you're going to be dealing with in this game. In this game, you're going to be dealing with, you know, assuming it's not just a gigantic stomp, which maybe that's what it turns into. But if this kind of game goes more even with these comps, the only person whose auto attacks you really care about once you get into mid and late game is Graves. And since Graves is behind, you know, who cares? You want to be able to spend as little time locked up by Lux bindings and Gnar Ws and Elise cocoons.
Oh, by the way, the following's very cringy. Just saying.
What's that?
The flash thing there was
yeah,
poorly done. Like,
yeah, here I'll go.
I didn't have to waste the flash. That was really bad. Like, really embarrassed. Like,
oh yeah, I see.
I hesitated, so yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
so, but that's you know, that's good that you recognize that. That's exactly the kind of thing that you got to be doing. You know, when you make a mistake like that, you just kind of say, "Ah, man, I should have done this," and then then you move on. Don't spend any time beating yourself up over it. It's just like, make note of it, and and then adjust it next time. But your ability to see that and self-correct or self-coach, that's a big deal. Okay. So you are at yeah, that's fair, I guess. There's nothing really else for you to do. The only other thing that no, this is fine. Yeah, going back is fine. You don't really have anything else to do. Ideally, in that situation, since you only had a little bit of gold, maybe you look to roam or get some wards down, but neither of those things was really possible in that situation, so that's fine. Well, I like also, you. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what time do you advise I upgrade my trinket? Because like, if I'm ahead like this and I have like extra gold to spare whatever, like I'll definitely buy it as soon as I can.
Absolutely.
But, like, if I'm behind,
no, buy it every single time. This item is honestly one of the most gold efficient and powerful items in the game. It's a little bit obscene how powerful it is, if you are using it correctly. And so most of the time, unless you're able to like finish Triforce, then that's kind of the only time that I would suggest that you opt to not buy, that warding trinket when you go back and have the gold for it at level 9, because it just, especially as Irelia, as a champion that wants to be moving around and impacting things and has so much potential for 1v1 and being aggressive like this, the ward coverage gives you, the ward coverage gives you I realize you didn't really have a chance to ward before this particular thing, but just as an example, having a ward right here or deeper in their jungle or something prevents this entire shenanigans from going down. It allows you to be aggressive, so it unlocks your ability to throw your weight around. And so 9 times out of 10, getting that warding trinket is more important than getting your next damage item. It's more important than just about anything else. Oh, dude, dang it.
Yeah, I know. It was so like, it was nail-biting there.
Yeah, and going back a few minutes ago when you identified that you blew flash and you didn't need to, that's that's kind of a direct consequence of that mistake, and so you can kind of look back and be like, well, why did I die here? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Didn't have enough vision, you got ganked on, so maybe you were a little bit too aggressive without enough vision, and you blew flash earlier, and so you didn't have that up when you needed it. So, okay, well, we're fine.
Yeah, you can go speed it up and like don't think much happens because I think later on we start the team fight, but they surrender for like no reason, which really annoyed me because I didn't
Yeah,
really get to play out the game.
it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
this
they
is
weren't really
really a
behind.
surrender right now because they're actually ahead.
Yeah,
Well, not by much, but they are.
we have like a few team fights, and then
And they throw
they
in the
choose to
towel.
surrender.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe they surrender like 21 or like 22 minutes, I think, or something around there.
It ends up going to 25, it looks like. So, but yeah, still pretty early.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, their Elise had heal, so I can see why they had.
Oh yeah,
concerns.
that was a mistake.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they maybe were having some, maybe some teamwork issues.
Yeah.
No one was having fun.
I felt pretty bad for their Elise, to be honest, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. Are you? Well, you probably could have gotten on that, but it wasn't like such a sure thing that.
yeah, I was a little bit scared of the Elise to stun me because
Yeah, she's pretty low mana though, and you're at a point when Graves is down. So even if she had, I think you would have been okay. That's again a thing where Merc Treads would probably be more useful versus this team. Because you don't need to respect that kind of thing as much.
yeah, so
Nice,
you're doing
nice.
the average Irelia thing and going the carry or
Yep.
like the squishy.
Yep, that's what you want to do 90% of the time. So that's what
Yeah.
you are uniquely. Aurelia's kit is just really freaking good at that, at being able to dive, and not just dive, but dive effectively and survive. So when you do that, though, so you guys just want to fight, and so you're pretty low, and so this is not necessarily a wrong response. But when you guys are kind of dancing around in mid like this and you're looking for a fight, if you are ever in a situation, I realize they surrender here, so this game is not a great example of this principle, but whenever you are looking to fight or setting yourself up for a skirmish, if you find a fight and you blow abilities and maybe even cool summoners and stuff to get some kills, and then you don't manage to secure anything off of it, it's not a complete waste because you still get gold and you're still you're kind of exerting psychological pressure that we can beat you whenever we want. But especially as you move into mid game, if you are not, you want to try to pick fights when you can take full advantage of them. And so if you're in a situation where it's going to be such a close fight that both sides are going to end up super low, then maybe that's not a great fight because it doesn't gain you anything, and the potential to lose a lot is pretty great. And so you're looking up at top, and this wave is pushing. And so if you guys were to lose a fight, this might be in danger. At best case, you're going to lose some minions, but this turret is low enough, maybe more. This turret is pushing though, and so this is the kind of situation where you can kind of look and read the map a little bit and think, okay, so everyone that is alive is right here, and you can just teleport down here and blow this turret up. So you've created a situation where you've killed 3 people, and the other 2 are right here in mid lane, and you've got Twitch and Braum who are kind of keeping them in mid lane. So this is an opportunity for you to glance at the map, look at the situation. How can I take advantage of the situation? We've created a numbers advantage. We have a 2-man numbers advantage. So how can we make a power play off of that? Well, you can teleport pop. It's pretty quick, and you got a free turret, and that's well worth the teleport cooldown. You're low, and so yeah, that's wise to keep in mind. But who's going to kill you? Lux used her ult a minute ago. Elise isn't going to kill you. If she shows up, you can just run from her. In worst case scenario, you've got flash up now. So I mean, even if they follow you down there, then Twitch probably takes mid. So worst case scenario, you're going to at least get something. So always be looking for opportunities to do that. When you win a fight, it is just. I mean, sometimes you have to go back, and sometimes that's just the only option. But that sucks if that's the only option. Because at this point in the game, you want to really be looking to start taking objectives and pressuring the map. So you're not just kind of team fighting over and over and over and over again without getting anything off of it. Okay, so as soon as you get your Triforce, you become gigantic.
Yeah.
So I mean, you are already ahead and already big, but Now, yeah, there you go. Nice, exactly.
Yeah, on there actually you got it.
Yep. So you got Ignite, you got, I don't know, I don't remember if she flashed or not, but she's out of the fight. You know, she has her ult, so you still gotta be a little bit careful. But you've essentially created a 4v5 just by doing that. Yikes.
Yeah, Echo's a bit questionable in his lot of his decisions. But
maybe he believed the rumors that Echo was OP, and so he just threw himself in.
Yeah, and Brahma's a little bit aggressive too.
Yeah.
I believe Brahm said he's gonna build Bork in game, so I think he's trying to do like damage and trying to get as many kills as he can so he can get the Bork. I don't know why he would do that though. But
Maybe there's, yeah, well, who knows? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, and this is the other kind of situation you got to be aware of beforehand. So whenever, and you want to do this to the enemy team as well. So this is kind of what Diana's done for you guys on their side. If you are able to set up pushes like this, so this is them. I don't know if they really set this up. This has just kind of happened, but this is a kind of a sixth man at this point because it's so much gold. It's really attractive, and also at not quite yet, but before too much longer here, waves like this will start really threatening your turrets. And so when you're looking to push an objective here, or looking for a fight, or looking to take dragon, or you've got anything that any objective that you're wanting to take next, you want to try to make sure that you've got the map set up to work for you, because especially as the game gets later and later, as the consequences get bigger and bigger, if you pick a late game fight and you don't have your lanes pushing, even if you win, there is almost, there's very little that you can actually do off of that fight. And if you lose, then the enemy team can punish you horrifically if the waves are pushing your way. Whereas if you have taken the time to set the lanes up so that you've set up a slow push, so it's heading toward this turret, and Diana set this one up so it's heading toward this turret, and if now you're grouping to push this, or now you're grouping to take dragon, now you've set up a situation where you don't even necessarily have to fight. You can just stall until the waves push to the turrets, because then it's very likely that one of these people is going to go deal with that, and now you got a 4v5. Or you pick a 5v5 fight, and win or lose, the map is set up in your favor. If you win, you've got waves waiting for you to take turrets. If you lose, the waves are pushed to their turrets, so they can't take your turrets easily. And so for you to be all in grouped up in mid and looking for, I'm not sure if you're looking for dragon right now, it looks like you kind of are, or whatever, and having this gigantic wave down here, it's not, at this point in the game, it's not deal breaking, but that's the kind of thing you want to be looking to do ahead of time. That's how you can set the map up for team fights to work in your favor.
Sorry, can I weigh in on this too?
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, my opinion is that, like, for me, I'm currently at my power, so I'm like level 12, I have 24, so my power spike was level 11.
Yeah.
So like now I'm like really strong, so I feel like if I push, or like if I waste my time pushing, or I mean, not really waste, but like,
yeah,
instead of using that, like I'd be using my power spike to push as opposed to like threatening people.
Yes, absolutely. And so and I don't mean to say that you should be split pushing. Mm-hmm. What I am, let me go back a little bit here. We'll skip back to where we were in a second. So I'm trying to find where you... Okay. So this is where you're going back, so I'm going to speed up. So right now as you're going back, this is where I suggested maybe you could go down and take that turret. So right now, I mean, you can see it happening right now, because you can glance at this bottom lane, and this wave is going to push. They've gotten almost 2 waves worth of minions versus 1. As soon as it's hit this wave, it's going to crash into it. They're going to obliterate these minions, and then it'll slow down. By that time, it's going to hit another wave here-ish, and by that time another reinforcement wave will have caught up to it. So this is a big wave that's going to develop, and so this is a threat that you can ping it. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do it yourself, but you want to ping it and say somebody go clear bot, and if nobody does it, then maybe you need to do it yourself. But this is how you can use your power spike to the max, because yeah, you have a power spike, you want to be looking to pick a fight and pressure objectives, but if you can take even just a few seconds, especially since you have teleport, I mean, worst case scenario, you can teleport into a fight if something happens to go down at a moment's notice. And so that gives you the freedom to do this kind of thing. But you can come here and you can just set this up real quick so that it's pushing the other way. like Diana kind of goes and does. And so it's pushing toward their turret as opposed to building, or even just reset it so it freezes here at this point since the turret's right here. So at least it's not building into this gigantic wave that you might have to deal with down the road here when you want to be fighting. And again, at 21 minutes, it's not critical. The minions are not going to be strong enough to take your turrets, so it's not a major deal by any stretch at this point in the game. As soon as you start hitting 30 minutes and 35, that's when it becomes a really big deal, because this wave here will absolutely start to take turrets at 35 and 40 minutes. And so if you take the time to go set it up so that's not a threat anymore, and then roam mid and look to push this mid turret, now you've got yourself, now you've got a map that's working for you, and you can throw your power spike around. So yeah, you do not want to be wasting your time split pushing, but you can set the map up so that it is pushing ahead of the time. So you set it so if the wave is here, for example, you can come here and make sure that it's set up so that it's an even lane, or your minions have a 1 or 2 minion advantage, and so that it will slowly start building up, so that as you walk back to mid lane and look to start forcing those fights, this is building up in your favor down here. And then when you win that fight because you're ahead, now you've got options. You can take this turret and you can immediately rotate bot and take this turret, or you can take this turret and then push ahead and take this turret and then teleport bot and take this turret, or whatever, because if you win a fight here, you might get this turret, but then you have to go defend this turret. Whereas potentially out of that same fight, if you'd taken an extra minute or so and set the map up, now you've got an opportunity to take maybe 3 turrets instead of just 1, or 3 instead of 2, or that kind of thing. So again, at this point it's not critical, but so I'm just kind of illustrating the principle of the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Basically what you're saying is, like, if I have like free time, sort of like if I'm like backing, or like if I think I should back or below when I don't know, we've got like a big team fight, I have time.
Yeah, exactly. Because you guys are at a point where, especially since you have hit your power spike, you can kind of dictate your team fights. Like, you don't need to wait for them to start a team fight, so you guys don't need to be super together, defensively and grouped up, because they might jump on you and murder you. At this point, you guys can kind of pick your moments to fight. And so you don't need to immediately go and look for a fight. You have your power spike. In 60 seconds, you're still going to have your power spike, right? So unless you have a sense that in 60 seconds something dramatic is going to change in their favor, which, I mean, sometimes might be the case, but in general, probably not. Then, yeah, try to look to set it up. Yeah, because right now, I mean, it's kind of the opposite situation, since it's pushed back from your turret here. So now you guys can take dragon, and instead of having to go defend something, you can go rotate off a dragon. So you won that fight, you can rotate to take dragon, and you should be rotating to take bot now, instead of recalling. So that's, you can maximize that even more. Not you personally, but your team. And you're fine to be doing this and setting that up in the top lane. Because again, you're not just looking to win team fights. You hit your power spike and you are able to win team fights. But winning team fights in and of itself does not win you the game. You win team fights so that you can get objectives, so that you can get the nexus. That's what wins you the game, other than in this game because you force a surrender. And so, that's also a viable option. But you win fights so that you have an advance, so that you can get objectives and kill the nexus. And so if you can take a little bit of extra time before you pick that fight to set the map up so you can maximize that team fight victory and get even more turrets off that team fight, then so much the better. Why wouldn't you do that? Mm-hmm. So again, yeah, I mean, and you're right. You don't want to find yourself caught in a lane split pushing when a team fight goes down. And so since you have teleport up, and since your team is kind of at a point where they can pick their fights, it's pretty safe to go do that. But that won't always be the case, and so it is kind of a situational thing. You got to judge on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so they surrender here for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like they had a really good fighting chance. I feel like their team fight was really strong with Gnar and Lux, because the Gnar ulti and the Lux ulti together just...
Yeah, this is a weird surrender.
Yeah.
Whenever it goes down here. Yeah, that's bizarre. They didn't even lose a fight. I'm confused. I get that Elise, they were probably... I mean, I'm sure they were probably just yelling at each other because of Elise's summoner's mistake. So, that's annoying, but... Okay. Okay, any other general thoughts or comments or questions on that?
My building into Bork was, and my coach told me that, like, if I should, like, or if, like, I'm in the position to carry or whatever, if I can dictate team fights, or if, like, got a really early lead and I can buy Bork is that like fine, or if they have a lot of tanks? So like in that game, I was like, I don't know, like the main person catching people out, so I felt like it was appropriate for me to build Bork. Is that
Yeah,
fine?
yeah, yeah. I guess there's kind of two schools of thought on that. I guess it's not wrong by any stretch, so I won't go that far. So this is kind of just my opinion and my approach. So in my opinion, if you are going, if your lane is going well, like if you're going even or slightly better than even, then continue on, and for someone like Irelia, then you can look to build, or especially if you're playing like a real carry. Irelia is kind of not, I mean, she can carry games, but she's not really like a top lane carry. She's like a top lane like fighter or bruiser. I'm talking as opposed to like Riven or Quinn or somebody who's like a like a squishy carry up top that needs to snowball, or an assassin or something. And so Irelia wants to build defense at some point regardless. And so if your lane is going even or better than even, then it's kind of a toss-up. You want to look at the team. Do you want to build the next defensive item, or do you want to build, or the next offensive item, or do you want to go defensive? If you're behind, you almost always want to go defensive early, because if you try to keep up on offense versus your lane opponent, that's a losing battle. But the other way to think about it is, if you're way ahead, often that's a great time to pick up a defensive item as well. And the reason is, you're already ahead. You probably already have a significant offensive item advantage on the enemy team. When you hit Triforce, that's a massive power spike for you. It's already enough to carry you, for you to do enough damage to obliterate people in the mid game, especially since you did well and hit that power spike a little bit early. And so, is getting Blade of the Ruined King, is that really necessary for you to be able to dictate team fights and carry and win team fights? That's questionable, I guess. Maybe in some situations, but I don't think it's always going to be the case. Maybe you don't really need that next defensive or offensive item to stay ahead of the damage curve of what the enemy team is able to do. What you might need is to be able to stay alive long enough to keep to keep hitting people with your Triforce. And so, because especially as you get bigger, and especially if you're playing somebody that's a little squishier, so I mean, that might not be especially the case for you, but even as Irelia, as you get bigger and bigger, the bullseye on your back is also getting bigger and bigger. As you are killing people and starting your killing sprees and being way ahead in CS, the enemy team, if they're not totally tilting and yelling at each other like in that game, they're probably all typing to each other, we got to deal with this Irelia, we got to take care of this Irelia, focus Irelia first, right? And so if you go for Bork, that will help you kill people, and it does give you some sustain and survivability. It's not completely offensive or anything. But if you go for Randuin's at that point, or even a Guardian Angel, now you become impossible to kill, and you're still doing that much damage. And so, that can in a way, that can actually help you do more damage in a fight than even going another offensive item will. So if you have enough damage to do your job already, consider picking up a defensive item early, because it will make you that much harder to kill and that much harder to stop as that bullseye on your back gets bigger and bigger. So anyway, that's kind of the way I approach that kind of situation. So if somebody, I would defer to somebody who knows Irelia specifically better than I do. And so that would be, that would be my my caveat to that advice, I guess. But that's kind of how I tend to approach that question. If you are behind, build defensive. If you're ahead, build defensive. If you're way ahead, build defensive. But if you're kind of even or just a little bit ahead, then go ahead and build offensive so that you can keep up with your lane opponent in terms of what his ability to put out damage is.